My name is Luke Rice, and I am a guitarist and vocalist from Mid Devon. And I am the lead guitarist and backing vocalist for a band called the 515 that's based in North Devon.
It's about work.
About 3 or 4 years ago, I joined the 515 to be the lead guitarist and backing vocalist. And ever since then, I've been doing gigs with them, I've been touring with them, press, I've been doing the radio, I've been doing the photo shoots, all that kind of good stuff in the music industry. And then, 2020 rolled around. By March, we were all in lockdown, all gigs had been cancelled, further notice, we can't even rehearse, we can't gig, we can't, the only thing we could do is voice chat with each other. And it was a bit of a bleak time. We were all a little bit saddened by it, given the scope of what we were going to do that year. In the first few months of the original lockdown, we didn't really know how long it was going to last. They originally said 2 weeks, so we didn't know whether we didn't know whether to kind of change our way of doing things. We didn't know whether to start thinking of other things to do. Maybe we just kind of went, you know what, we'll wait it out and see what happens, just in case. Bought a Mac, bought Logic, I started creating songs. So did my bass guitarist Tom. He started doing his thing as well. Amazing bass guitarist. And we would just video chat and we just record ourselves in our own environments and pass ideas on, so when we could get back into our studio, then we'd hopefully have some firepower to go back into the scene with, almost, bam, try and get back in there as fast as possible. But then a month turned into 2 months. As more and more weeks went by, we were allowed to start rehearsing again. So we decided that, we've been so inactive on social media, we really do need to kind of keep ourselves relevant. So we decided to do live streams. And we were doing these live streams where we play parts of our set that we knew our fans liked, and we'd have people tuning in to watch it, and it was this whole thing. It was just really cool, and it gave us this connection with our fan base again that we hadn't had in about 6 months to a year almost. We did one in summer. We did a Halloween specific live stream where we dressed up the live stream as this big Halloween event. It's really cool, but we got a really good response from it. And it's one of these things that wouldn't have necessarily been thought of if it wasn't for COVID. There are ups and downs. Obviously, being locked down for almost an entire year, and some of this year as well. It just wasn't what any of us were expecting. It wasn't what any of us wanted, but looking at it from a positive standpoint, I think there is some stuff that really did help with. Reflecting on the last 2 years, it's hard to tell right now whether it did or didn't help, because even though it's nearing 2022, we still have haven't really come out the other side of it. Live gigs still aren't what they used to be. Venues are struggling to book bands because they're struggling themselves. Different branches of the music industry, PA people, stage people, the people that put things, the sound engineers, the lighting crews, all of these jobs are under threat, and still are, and makes things really difficult. So in that respect, looking back over the last few years, it has not been a good thing. But looking at some of the stuff we've done, I hope in the long run, I think in the long run, it's really going to help boost us to that next level. We don't want to fizzle into nothingness. We want to keep going, even given the circumstances. We want to keep pushing. We want to keep going. We want to make sure we can do what we need to do, and we want to make sure we can keep doing what we love.
My name is Finn McCauley. I'm a drummer. I play in the band Shake the Geek, as well as doing various session bits for whoever can pay me, basically. I play for, session work I've done includes playing for someone called Troy Redfern. We're currently on tour. I used to play for a band called Willie and the Bandits, Deppin for other mates, in bands such as Scattertones. And playing live and doing gigs is the main way which I make an income from music, and the main thing I do in music. Of course I do recording, and all of that, but playing live is the main chunk of what I do. The COVID pandemic has obviously affected that massively, with stopping gigs completely at one point. In January 2020, I landed my first bigger kind of job in the music industry, playing for a band called Willie and the Bandits, and we had a UK tour planned, a Europe tour planned, festivals for 2020 that we were going to do. We did half our Europe tour, and we started our UK tour in March 2020. We were halfway through our UK tour. We just done Scotland and Wales and up north. That's what I call it anyway, from Devon. And COVID was a thing. We knew less and less people were coming to shows, and we finished the run. I came home. I remember I was in the band room just practicing my parts, having a little jam, and I got the text, we're cancelling the next 2 weeks worth of gigs because the venues have pulled out. Maybe 3 days after we cancelled our run of gigs, the lockdown was implemented, and that was that. The whole rest of the tour was off. We rescheduled it for July that year, which was optimistic at the time. We were still hoping for the Europe tour in April to go ahead, but that didn't end up happening. Gigs have always been slightly uncertain with regards to how sustainable it is and how much security you have in that. And I think the pandemic has really shattered all of the any uncertainty that we have. There's no security whatsoever. Even just last month, which is November, I had a whole tour cancelled, and that was November 2021, because the headline bands were worried about COVID, and now we're seeing gigs getting cancelled again due to waves. No one knows whether it's going to go up in cases or go down. So we don't, we can't. It makes it hard to plan where we're playing gigs, when we're playing gigs, and what gigs we're booking in. And for newer bands like Shake the Geek, my band, it makes it harder for us to enter the industry and get shows, because there's such a back catalogue of bands that have had shows rescheduled. I know venues that are booked up until late 2022 now, because they've got no dates available to offer to newer bands, more creative bands, because they've just got such a back catalogue now of what they had booked in already, plus the rescheduled. So I was gutted because I had these shows cancelled, and I was practicing drums because that was what I was used to doing. But all I can really do was just practice drums and play in my garage. When they announced that the lockdown wasn't just going to be the initial 2 or 3 weeks, then that's when I started. Okay, what can I do at home? So that's when I bought the recording gear and started recording my own songs and writing stuff, sending back stems. I then managed to get through networking. I managed to get a couple of jobs recording people's albums, people's EPs. I think I did 2 albums in my garage playing for someone, and I did another 3 or 4 EPs for songwriters, which was great. It's definitely a longer process than coming into the studio, but it's something which I'm now after COVID continuing. With regards to if it's helped or hindered my career, it's hard to know, because I don't know what my career would be like if it wasn't for COVID. Personally, I feel like it's hindered it, and I feel like I'd be in a completely different position financially, my level of playing, the kind of shows I'm doing, what I've learnt. Because even those 3 months that I had playing with Willie and the Bandits, which is probably one of the biggest bands I've played with, I learned so much, and it's then enabled me to bring that into my own band, Shake the Geek, and use the things I've learned to push some singles, record and get shows. I can imagine playing for another 6 months on top of that, or another 9 months on top of that, or even a year on top of the 3 months I had with them. I would have learned so much more, and met so many more people, and networked.
anything you want to say to wrap it up, or?
My band Shake the Geek probably just released a latest single, up there recording some vocals for it. Check it out.